Now, some of you may be thinking, what's all this hearing God business, right? Like, I've never heard an audible voice from God. And if I did, I probably wouldn't tell you, right? But here's the thing. It's not weird. It's not spooky. I mean, we're always trying to get our thoughts into each other's heads using our voices. This is what I'm trying to do right now. But we have to use a voice and the English language and sound waves and ears. But God's not like that. See, God can just put his thoughts directly in your mind. He doesn't have to use a voice like we do. And now you can ignore God's thoughts just like you might be ignoring my thoughts right now. Or you can learn to pay attention to the thoughts God puts in your mind, just like you might be trying to focus and paying attention to what I'm saying. And listening prayer. So as we take time in the morning to listen, to be quiet in our thoughts, and to listen for God's thoughts, to respond to his will in a willing posture, God actually starts to lead us. We actually, the more willing we are, start to see how God's at work in our lives. And he guides us. And as we learn to listen better, we start to discern these lies, these voices that got us into so much trouble before. You know, Trey wrote me about this, how when he was overcoming his crack cocaine addiction, he said there were these little lies that kept trying to lead him into temptation. He didn't even realize it. He said, I used to buy crack near a particular gas station that had some of the cheapest gas in town. That's where the lie began. You need to be wise with your money. Rather than listen for God's thoughts, I would just drive right in, he said, and buy gas. And it was working fine, even though I could see my crack dealer's house as I was pumping gas. No problem, the lie would tell me. I'm strong enough now. Which worked fine until the fifth time buying gas, boom, I found myself across the street at the old dealer's house talking to him about buying crack. Fortunately, Trey said, I had enough connection with God to barely come to my senses, respond to his prompt, and speed away. From that point forward, I realized I've got to immerse myself in God's truth in Scripture. And that's a great point, because let me be honest, this whole hearing God stuff can be dangerous if you don't really know God well or know what God says, what he said in Scripture.